Hey guys, today we are going to be working with word problems and dealing with percents and decimals, fractions as well. So let's look at number 1. It says, a recent survey shows the favorite subjects of math at Martin Middle School. What part of the student chose each subject? Okay, so you see we have all percentages here for each one of our different subjects. So in our percentages, we know that in order to turn a percentage into a fraction, 100 is going to be our denominator, and all we do is take the percent and it becomes our numerator. So if we follow that, we know that math is going to be 24 out of 100. Art is going to be 18 over 100. English is 11 out of 100. Science is 23. Social studies is 17, and our other is going to be 7 out of 100. Now, typically, we simplify if the numerator and denominator have anything in common. However, because we're getting ready to move these into decimals, we're going to leave these as is just so you can see very easily how we're going to turn them into decimals in the next step. So let's go ahead. Let's go down to number 2. Okay. So number 2, again, remember I said that we're leaving all of these guys over 100 because that is a very simple conversion from a fraction over 100 into a decimal. So since math was 24 out of 100, it's going to become 0.24. And we know that's true because my 4 is still in the hundredths place. Again, this is why we left them all unsimplified. Art is going to become 0.18. English, 0.11 or 11 hundredths. Science, 0.23. Social studies, 0.17. And now our other was 7 out of 100. So we need to make sure that when we write the decimal, it's going to be 0.07 because that 7 has to be in the hundredths place. Okay? So make sure you know how to convert percentages out of 100 into decimals. So let's go ahead. Let's look at example number 3. Number 3 says, in a recent year, 0.12 or 12 hundredths of Americans downloaded a podcast from the internet. What percent is equivalent to 0.12? Or again, like I just said, that's 12 out of 100. So if you wrote a fraction, obviously the simple thing to do is you know that that is just 12%. If we look up here at our decimal, if I move my decimal place 2 places to the right, which is the same as multiplying it by 100, then that also gets me 12%. So either way is acceptable. You need to be familiar with both ways, but you may choose the way that you like to work with. Okay, let's look at example number 4 now. Okay, number 4 says, Daphne wants to buy a coat that costs $100. The store that sells the coat has multiple locations. The sales tax in each city is shown in the table. How much more would the coat cost in Austin than Suffolk? Okay, so we're dealing with Austin and Suffolk. So you notice in our table we have our tax rates are written in different forms. So the easiest thing to do is to get them all in the same form. In order to multiply a number, which is in this case is going to be your cost, by a percentage, you must first turn that percentage into a decimal. We cannot actually just take the percent number and multiply it because our decimal will be in the wrong place in our answer. So if I look at Austin, I know I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right, or it's like dividing by a 100. So that is going to become 0.0825. Okay? And now, if I want to find tax on an item, I'm going to take my percentage as a decimal, and I'm going to multiply it by the cost of my item, in this case, which is $100. So, now remember when we just talked about multiplying dividing by 100. The shortcut way when multiplying any decimal by 100 is to move the decimal place 2 places back to the right. That means that my tax is going to be $8.25. And then I'm going to add that to my original cost of $100. And I'm going to get a total cost of $108.25. Okay? So now, if I look at Suffolk, let me change colors for you. it is already in a decimal, so I can take that decimal and multiply it by 100, which means that my decimal place goes 2 places to the right. So my tax is $6.75. And I'm going to add that to my original cost of 100, and I'm going to get $106.75. Now, it wants to know how much more, so that tells me I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to take my Austin cost of $108.25 and subtract my $106.75. So to do that, I have to borrow. No, that's 0. 12 minus 7 is 5. 7 minus 6 is 1. So it is going to cost $1.50 more in Austin. So your answer for this problem is $1.50 because your total cost for the coat is going to be $1.50 more in Austin than if she bought it in Suffolk. Okay, so now let's look at our last example, number 5. Okay, and it says a yogurt company decreased the amount of yogurt in each container it sells, so their container is not going to hold as much. The new container contains 15% less yogurt than the original container. The number line shows the original amount in each container. Okay, so if we think about it, if originally the entire amount was 100%, okay, so originally it held 100% and now it holds 15% less. So I'm going to take away the 15%. That's going to leave me with 85%. So this container holds 85% of the original. So if I look at this, I need to look and see which point in the number line represents 85%. Obviously, there is my original, that's the 100%. So I know it's not D because I know it's less. If I look over here, A and B are only up to 20%. Well, 20% is not near close enough to 85%. So the only logical answer is C because C is between 80% and 100%. So it would be point C. Okay, guys, so if you have any questions, make sure you come tomorrow with questions. Otherwise, we'll be ready to go and practice tomorrow. Have a good night.